This movie is wild. It's full of thrills, chills, alien on human violence. It makes John Wick look like a Disney movie. I wonder who made it. Wait, the mastermind behind this grisly masterpiece is the Walt Disney Company? The House of Mouse is capable of making this gore fest? Somehow, we don't think this big guy will be greeting the kids on Main Street, USA anytime soon. But it isn't just other non-family friendly movie companies that Disney owns. Mickey is hiding even more secrets behind those famous ears. On today's episode of the Infographics Show, you had no idea Disney owned this. Disney isn't just big, it's a global entertainment empire, dominating the animation world and running over a dozen theme parks across 3 continents. Disney's mind-boggling $172 billion net worth as of October 2024 has allowed it to snap up some of the most powerful names in entertainment: Marvel, Pixar, Lucasfilm, and even 20th Century Fox. Imagine a world where Elsa from Frozen faces off against Darth Vader in an epic crossover battle. Well, thanks to Disney's aggressive purchasing, that might not be as far-fetched as it seems. But it also means they've picked up some seriously bizarre assets over the years. Disney has a very long reach in just about every area you can imagine. Not only do they pretty much dominate animation and theme parks today, but their live-action film division is incredibly strong too. Not only do they have Marvel and Star Wars, but they're currently in the process of remaking almost every one of their old animated favorites in photorealistic CGI. Then there's their TV holdings, which include the kid-friendly Disney Channel, the sports paradise ESPN, and one of the big 4 broadcast networks, ABC. They also have the Disney Plus streaming service and its former competitor Hulu, meaning they have something you probably want to watch and a lot of things you don't. Disney's live-action division used to crank out a massive number of comedies each year, many of which are better off forgotten. In 1997 and 1998 alone, some of the movies Disney released were Jungle to Jungle, where Tim Allen brings his feral jungle-raised son to the big city, Rocket Man, a slapstick comedy about the first mission to Mars, and Meet the Deedles, a farce about surfer boys getting sent to boot camp. If these sound like fever dreams you vaguely remember from your childhood, the first and third are actually available on Disney+. But there are some movies Disney doesn't even want you to remember. If you thought about which genre Disney is best at, horror would definitely not come to mind. But that didn't stop Disney from releasing the 1980 thriller The Watcher in the Woods, set in the English countryside. It was a dark supernatural fantasy about 2 girls who get pulled into the strange disappearance of a local girl. Fairly infamous for its occult themes and dark tone, it was actually pulled after test screenings and got retooled to be less dark. Disney limited its release on video, and its rarity continues to this day. It's one of the few in-house originals not available on Disney+. But it's not the Disney movie they make it the hardest to watch. Song of the South was one of Disney's earliest films, released in 1946, and still almost 80 years later, it's most controversial. An adaptation of the classic Uncle Remus tales, it featured a kindly old black man in the post-Civil War South teaching a group of children life lessons through animated tales of Brer Rabbit and his pursuers. While the movie was initially seen as revolutionary due to its positive portrayal of a black mentor figure, it was very quickly seen as a simplistic and racist caricature, and by the late 1980s, the movie was near impossible to find. It never made it to Disney+, but surprisingly, it loomed large in the theme parks. The popular flume ride Splash Mountain featured the animated critters and that catchy Zippity-Doo-Dah tune until it was closed for refurbishment as Tiana's Bayou Adventure in 2020. But that is just scratching the surface of Disney's bizarre movie catalog. With the purchase of 20th Century Fox in 2019, Disney acquired the X-Men and Fantastic Four back. They also got a whole raft of original properties, including some that would make Minnie Mouse pass out. Most famously, these include the hard-boiled sci-fi horror franchises Predator and Alien, which means those non-consensual facehuggers are now a part of the Walt Disney Corporation. They also picked up Don Bluth's Anastasia, a 1997 animated feature that played very fast and loose with the story of the Russian Revolution. Looks like Anastasia became a Disney princess after all. And that's just the first half of Disney's media empire. Disney has had a foothold in TV for a very long time, but since it purchased ABC and founded the Disney Channel, it can be found basically everywhere. There are hundreds of Disney TV movies that likely aired only a few times on ABC or the Disney Channel and then faded into the ether. Remember My Date with the President's Daughter? Anyone? Thought not. But their ownership of ABC means they also co-own one of the most mind-bending series of all time, the surreal island thriller Lost. And when you take into consideration the Fox purchase, they also have a stake in the gritty crime drama The Shield and the twisted anthology American Horror Story. But in terms of owning iconic TV shows, it doesn't get any stranger than two of America's most infamous families. When Disney finalized its Fox purchase, it picked up the rights to The Simpsons, the decade-spanning yellow-skinned animated family that spawned its own media empire. The edginess of The Simpsons in the early days is long gone. Remember when they were denounced at the Republican National Convention? But certain rough edges, like the controversial character Apu and Homer's tendency to strangle Bart, have been mostly removed since. But The Simpsons look like the Cleavers compared to another acquisition, the Griffins of Family Guy. Complete with an abusive dad, a homicidal baby, and perverted neighbors, these creations of Seth MacFarlane don't get any more out of step with Disney's style. But you can still find them on Disney+. Disney also has a say in what you listen to, with the Mouseketeers churning out catchy earworm songs that refuse to leave your brain and a whole lot of movie soundtracks to sell. Disney decided, hey, why not take over the music world too? So, in 1989 they formed Hollywood Records. As the record company grew, Disney tried to branch out into different genres, including failed attempts to sign hip-hop acts like Dr. Dre, Cypress Hill, and 90s grunge pioneers Nirvana. But these setbacks didn't stop Disney. They bought the back catalog of 70s rock band Queen, which helped Hollywood Records make almost $94 million between 1991 and 1995. Since then, the label has gone from strength to strength thanks to the conveyor belt of Disney starlets like Miley Cyrus, Hilary Duff, and Selena Gomez. But if you think Disney's influence stops with your Spotify playlists and movie marathons, think again. That is nothing compared to what they own on the ground. Disney doesn't own theme parks, they own resorts, and these tend to be huge. Most of the Disney parks around the world contain 2 theme parks and a few hotels, including in locations like California, Shanghai, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Paris. And then there's Walt Disney World, which is built on a massive patch of land in Florida and contains 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, a massive shopping area, and dozens of hotels with plenty of space in between. It's 47 square miles in size, larger than countries like San Marino and Monaco. No wonder that when it got into a feud with the current governor of Florida, some people were wondering, could Disney just declare itself independent? Probably not, but it's hiding some interesting things in those 47 square miles. Did you know that every president that has ever lived can be found in Walt Disney World? The most extensive collection of our former POTUSes can be found at the Hall of Presidents in Magic Kingdom in audio animatronic form. It's managed to survive all the current political turmoil, but you might notice one audio animatronic looks a little odd. That's because one president wasn't expected to win, and when he did, some claim Disney Imagineers had to do a hurried makeover to turn the framework of Hillary Clinton's figure into Donald Trump. The animatronic was ultimately updated a few years later to look more like the former president. And Disney isn't just the king of theme parks in Florida. It might be the culinary boss of Orlando. Disney World has a staggering over 200 restaurants on its ground, making it less of a park and more of a full-fledged neighborhood. While they do own most of them, they actually lease some of them from other franchises. You can find McDonald's, Rainforest Cafe, Chicken Guy, and even top-tier restaurants from the Patina Group on the grounds. You can find family-friendly casual foods, extensive buffets, dinner theaters, and even fine dining on the grounds. There's a simple reason for this. Disney wants to give people as little reason to leave the Disney bubble as possible while they're there. But there is one thing we doubt you ever thought you'd find on a theme park site. Disney actually has a Michelin-star restaurant at one of its hotels, the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. This high-end hotel is home to Victoria & Albert's, a unique tasting menu restaurant that offers a multi-course menu for diners willing to drop a few $100s on a memorable experience. For the ultimate high rollers, there's even an extended chef's table experience. But there's one thing you won't find at Victoria & Albert's: children. No one under 10 is allowed to grace these hallowed halls. And for those seeking another sort of mature experience, Disney has you covered. The Mexico Pavilion at Epcot is a fairly whimsical place. Located inside a Mayan pyramid, you'll find a relaxing boat ride with Donald Duck and Pals, a family-friendly Mexican restaurant, and one of the best tequila bars in Florida. La Cava del Tequila is an elite drinking experience offering more than 200 types of authentic tequila, including rare aged varieties. For tequila rookies, flights are available for these unique agave spirits. It attracts aficionados from around Florida as long as they have a park ticket. With all this on the grounds, you might not want to leave, and Disney is going to try to make it so you don't have to. Disney's dozens of hotels are designed for short-lived stays, but they have recently been introducing ways for high rollers to stay for the long haul. Their first attempt was Celebration, a suburb of Orlando. Yes, Disney briefly owned a town. Instead, they now offer Golden Oak, a residential community offering 300 homes located near the Magic Kingdom. The homes are smaller than the average and are primarily used as vacation homes rather than full-fledged houses, but people can own their little slice of Disney. Well, technically, the houses are sold under a contract that allows Disney to choose whether to renew it at intervals. But their next step looks to take this even further. Story Living by Disney is an in-progress initiative to create planned communities owned by Disney and incorporating elaborate Disney theming and properties. They'll be located in Cotino, California and Pittsboro, North Carolina, with the Cotino location set to open for purchase in 2025. These neighborhoods will reportedly be staffed with Disney cast members, so even when you leave the parks, Disney will follow you home. Disney really seems to be everywhere, even in its biggest competitor. Disney is the king of theme parks, but Universal Studios is coming up fast with locations on both coasts. The rights to top properties like Harry Potter and Minions, and a massive third theme park set to open in Orlando in 2025. Universal Orlando in particular has developed into a multi-day vacation competitor to Disney. But there is one thing people are often surprised by when they visit Universal parks. What are two Disney properties doing at Universal? In the 1990s, long before the MCU existed, Marvel Comics was entering bankruptcy. To stay afloat, they sold off a lot of rights, including the theme park rights east of the Mississippi, in perpetuity to Universal. The result was Marvel Superhero Island in Universal Islands of Adventure, which is themed to the classic comics and still exists to this day. Because the contract was fairly airtight, they kept the rights even after Disney bought Marvel lock, stock, and barrel a decade later. But only certain characters are included. So Universal in Orlando has Spider-Man, Hulk, and the X-Men, while Disney has the Guardians of the Galaxy and other movie stars. And then there is Springfield's favorite family. The Simpsons under Fox were free agents, and they signed a deal with Universal in the early 2000s, meaning Universal Studios is home to a land featuring a Simpsons ride, a Krusty Burger, and a Quickie Mart. But unlike the Marvel deal, this deal wasn't in perpetuity, and that contract is coming up for renewal, which means it might be time for a last exit to Springfield soon enough. No doubt the jockeying over the rights to these two will be continuing for a long time as the two powerhouses try to outplay each other. But did you know Disney owns a whole other resort you might never have heard of? Let's board a plane and head to the island of Oahu in Hawaii. That's where you'll find Aulani, a unique Disney getaway with an unexpected surprise. It doesn't have a theme park. While kids might dream of Mickey and Goofy, this Hawaiian paradise is more geared toward mature travelers, with nature-based excursions, an authentic Hawaiian luau, and a thrilling water park. But don't worry, families, there are plenty of Disney-themed activities, including character dining. Aulani is part of a larger Disney experiment, the company's move to bring their brand closer to your backyard. Along with properties in Hilton Head Island and Vero Beach, Disney is expanding its reach beyond theme parks. Which is to say, if Disney doesn't own something or have a stake in it yet, they probably want to. With a market this big, there are no doubt some things that go haywire. So check out totally messed up things that have happened at Walt Disney World, or watch this video instead.